Hello everyone, welcome to our HTML and CSS tutorial course for beginners. If you're joining us for the first time, I highly recommend that you pause this video and go take a look at our intro lesson 1 video. There are some important instructions in there you need to follow. That way you'll be able to follow along with me as I get deeper and deeper into this course. Okay, if you've already done that, then check the description area of this specific video and click on where it says lesson link. All right, click on the lesson link. That way you can see exactly what I'm seeing here. All right, so in the previous lesson we did look at divs, we looked at headings. This time we're going to be looking at attributes, and we'll look at a few other things as well. All right, so some of you might be asking that, hey, I mean, we've been doing a little bit of coding, and the outputs doesn't look really pleasant. It looks so dry. Where are all the colors and all the things that make up a website? Well, the thing is that this is just the HTML part of the website. Okay, we have not yet styled this content yet. All right, and that's why it looks so dry and not much stuff going on. All right, and the best way to understand it is to look at this image right here. Okay, so web building is sort of like construction. It has some similarity to construction. Okay, if you look at the left hand side, you can see that there is some construction going on. You see all those kind of like ugly looking spaces right here and all over there. There are no windows, no color effect. You could see all these symbols and walls and holes and all of that. Look at all of this here. It's not pleasing to the eyes, right? If a construction person tells you they've finished doing their job, you're gonna say, man, you guys have a lot more work to do. Okay, so this right here on the left hand side is what you're seeing here. That's what we're doing first, right? This is the HTML part. So if you could say this is the HTML part of the construction. However, it's a very important step. Okay, so on the second side of this image, you can see that the building is now completed. You could see how beautiful it looks. The color is showing. The windows are looking really nice. You can see this looks a lot more pleasing to the eye. Okay, so this you can say is a CSS part of the construction. Okay, we haven't really gotten to this part yet. We're working on this part of the website. See what I mean? So right now we're still working on that side. That's why the HTML side, we're working on the HTML side. That's why it looks dry. So we will get there. Just be patient. Okay, so in this lesson we're going to be looking at attributes. All right, so let's go ahead and read along with me. If we want to expand an elements tag, we can do so using an attribute. Attributes are content added to the opening tag of an element and can be used in several different ways, from providing information to changing styling. Attributes are made up of the following two parts: the name of the attribute, the value of the attribute. Okay, we're going to see samples of that shortly. All right, one commonly used attribute is the ID. We can use the ID attribute to specify different content such as divs, and is really helpful when you use an element more than once. That's very true. Okay, IDs have several different purposes in HTML, but for now we will focus on how they can help us identify content on our page. When we add an ID to a div, we place it in the opening tag. All right, so you can see right here we've placed the ID. All right, so we have some instructions over here. It says add an ID attribute with the value introduction to the div tag that's below the brown bear h tag. All right, so we're gonna go look for the brown bear right there. All right, and it's saying that we should add an attribute with the value introduction to the div tag. Okay, so where is that div tag? We're gonna look at the div tag that's below right here. There we go. So we're gonna add an ID. All right, and then we're gonna have the you can see in order to add that, you have to add your ID, and then you have to add your equal sign, and then the double quotation right here. Okay, and inside of it we want to write introduction. Okay, so we have ID'd this specific div. Okay, you can see that right over here. Let me go ahead and hit run. Okay, and that looks good. All right, so the ID does not show on the front end of the website. This is just for coding purposes, for you to identify the div. All right, we want to give it a name, and also when it comes time to style this specific div or this specific section, the CSS is going to use this ID. And also we have another attribute called class, which we will talk about shortly. The CSS will use the ID and class to style. All right, let's do the next instruction right here. It says add an ID attribute with the value habitat to the opening div tag that has the habitat h2 heading as a child. All right, so over here we're gonna place another ID right here. Let me add some spacing in between here so we'll make it easy for us to read. Try to use indentation and spacing, all right, inside of your code to make it easy for you to read. So we're gonna add an ID attribute with the value habitat to the opening tag that has habitat h2 tag as a child. So over here we're gonna add this right here. We're gonna make this equal to, and then the double quotation we're gonna put in there habitat. Okay, so we just ID'd. Let me add space here, that way we can separate them. Okay, so this is another section of your website that has been ID'd. Okay, makes it easy to identify that section, and also if we need to style it, we have a way to, we have an ID that CSS will use for styling. Okay, let me hit run, and that's correct. And then the third one says add an ID attribute with the value media to the opening tag that has media h2 as a heading as a child. So over here we're gonna add another ID right here, and then it's gonna be equal to, and then we're gonna name it media. All right, and that's the next div section that has been identified as media. So I'm gonna hit run, and that looks good. Okay, so one other attribute we also need to look at, and we're gonna be using a lot of it, is the class attribute. This lesson here focused a lot on the ID attribute, but we're also going to be looking at the class attribute. All right, a better way to understand that is to look at this diagram here. Okay, so you can see that I told you that divs divide up your website into different parts, right? Okay, so you can see I have one of the divs up here that is ID'd white box, right? Then the other ones here, I have them with the class attribute, all right, that says white box. Okay, and then I have some over here with class attribute, and then I have some here ID attribute. Now let's assume I want to change I want to change this box, the contents, to orange, right? If I have this box with if I give it a class attribute, every one of the contents will become orange. Okay, but let's say that's not what I want. let's say I only want the content in this box to be orange, and I want this one to remain black, 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 and this one orange. So in order to do that, I have to give it an ID attribute over here. Okay, so I'm telling the browser that anywhere you see this ID attribute, I want the font color to be orange. So you see right here, the font color will remain orange. Anywhere we see ID attribute, the font color is orange, and then the rest of them will remain black. All right, so attributes are super important because you may have a website that has so many different pages, right? It could have about 50 different pages, right? So if you want to like have a uniform color across all those 50 pages, if you, for example, need to change a color, you don't have to change it 50 different times, right? You don't have to do that. You could just give each of the pages or the sections of that pages a class. All right, so if we give it that class, let's say we want some part of it to have orange text, right? We just need to give that part that ID, this ID right here. All right, that way whenever we style them in the CSS sheet, CSS will look for every part that has the ID and style that instantly for us one time. All right, so this is how powerful ID and class attributes are. We're going to be looking a lot more and be using a lot of it. All right, but I just wanted to show that to you over here. Okay, so let's go back here. We're done with this for now. Let's go to the next one, and this one talks about displaying text. All right, so over here it says if you want to display text in HTML, you can use paragraph or span. All right, paragraph, which is P, we've already looked at it in the previous lesson. It contains a block of plain text. Okay, and then we have span here, which contains short pieces of text or other HTML. They are used to separate small pieces of content that are on the same line as other content. All right, take a look at each of these elements below. So we see here we got a div in here, we got a H1 title in there. Okay, and then we got a paragraph. Inside of the paragraph we have a span. Okay, so the span is pretty much just separating a section of the paragraph. In case, for example, this whole text right here is white, right? Let's assume we want to change only where it says self-driving cars to let's say an orange color, right? We can use a span element to separate that part and style that part only. All right, so that's what the span is for. Okay, in the example above there are two different divs. Okay, you can see right here the second div contains a paragraph with the span self-driving cars. So that's pretty much what we talked about. All right, you can go ahead and read further down in here. Over here it says it's best to use a span element when you want to target a specific piece of content that is inline or on the same line as other text. If you want to divide your content into blocks, it's better to use a div. All right, so it's pretty self-explanatory over here. All right, so let's do this instructions here. It says below the H2 element tag that says about brown bears. So let's look for where it says about brown bears. All right, so it says below that add a paragraph opening and closing tag, and inside of the tags put this text right in there. So we're gonna add a paragraph in here. All right, we're gonna add the closing part of the paragraph, and then it wants us to just copy this one right here. Okay, then we're gonna place that in here. All right, now it says remember to always add 2 spaces of indentation when you nest elements inside a div for better readability. Okay, So I think it's already kind of like indented, okay, but we want to make sure we add indentation for readability. It could be 3 spaces. If it depends on what will make it easy for you to read. Okay, 2 spaces seem to be fine. I kind of like to make it 3. Okay, but if you want to make it 4, but just the whole purpose of it is to make it easy for you to read. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and hit run, and that looks good. So I'm gonna do the next one here. It says below the H3 element tag, or below the H3 element that says features. Okay, so right over here below that, add a paragraph with the following text. So let's go ahead and add another paragraph. Okay, I'm gonna put the closing tag in here, and then it wants us to put this text in there. Copy, place that in there. All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and hit run, and that looks good. All right, we have our indentation, it's okay. Under the H3 element that says countries with small brown bear population, countries with small brown bear population. So right here underneath that, they want another paragraph. Okay, and then they want this right here inside of it. Copy, and we're gonna place that right in here, and then we're gonna hit run. Okay, so when we look on the right hand side, you can see that our website is starting to take shape a little bit, but it still looks dry. Okay, we can use this arrow, double-sided arrow here, okay, to give us a more landscape view of the site. Okay, it's starting to take shape. All right, with, you know, it's got some nice content, but it still looks dry. But when it comes time for styling, you'll see how beautiful the site will look later on. Okay, so I think this will do it for now. In this lesson, we did look at attributes, and then we looked at displaying text. All right, so we will pause this video, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Have a wonderful day, and goodbye. See you all in the next video.